nation, destroys our generation. But I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind. I don't mind.
And good evening, everybody. And sorry about that. Had a little bit of technical difficulty. The chat bot was not wanting to respond very well. So, yeah, I think we got that figured out. I want to make sure to get all the other social media stuff out there. Let people know that we're here. Just give me a second on that. Feeling a little bit under the weather today. I've really kind of tossed it around as far as whether or not I wanted to stream. I've been back and forth to the restroom all freaking day. It's hasn't been fun, but I've taken some drugs, taken some meds, to hopefully maybe calm that down a little bit. Oops. Come on. Just want to get all these out. There we go. Let's get all these out here. Let all the peoples know we are live. Hope everyone's having a pretty decent Saturday so far. Okay, let's alright, there we go. We got that all out of the way now. Tried to do that, I guess, during the intro, but I had a problem with the, like I said, with the chat bot there, so hopefully got that all figured out now. So let's let me tone this down a tad. Yeah, doing some of the gaming stuff as well as yeah, going back and forth between that, it makes it a little bit difficult sometimes as far as okay. So now, yeah, this is where we're kind of at here. We're going to kind of showcase this a little bit, I guess, as far as teaser pics, if you will, as far as some of the things that have been worked on off stream. So that's kind of what we're going to start with for now. So what we got going on here is a current 3D orientation of the track model, I guess, in Sandbox for Enter 2003. And what we've done is to make this infield object to fill in that voided infield objects. And I've already gone ahead, and I'll probably I'll go over a lot of how I got to this point. I didn't save, unfortunately, a point here, I guess, as far as, it kind of started off there and then just go. There's a lot of, I will say, as far as the way this is designed anyway, there is a lot of Boolean cutting, as far as to get the shapes out that you need to have out, to get that shape. The general shape of this here can be done, pretty much with a spline. All of it, the Boolean and all the Boolean cutter and all that stuff can be done with a spline. Pretty darn easy. So I've also already got this model. As far as this infield object, it's already applied to the track, just to kind of see how it, and it's only mapped currently. Whether or not it'll stay that way is still yet to be determined. It's still mapped to the SAT image, as far as the detail, whatever detail does happen to exist in the SAT image. So here's where I added the infield. Got the two separate PDFs as far as elevation adjustments, and now I do still have the background image in place, to which I could remove that. I'll just put this to none. Okay, so now that's all that's in. There's the infield object, and I can put this on object view, object placement view. So there's the infield object, and it lines up pretty darn good in comparison to what we have in Sandbox. All of this is a geometric track surface here, so we've been able to cut out the areas that, be it the fact that there's so much height data now included. This is not at all 100% flat. It does have elevation in it, as far as it tends to be a little bit higher up on this end than it does on this end, for example. And I can kind of show that if I go side on view here. You can kind of get an idea of how much higher it is on this end than it is on this end. So I do need to adjust the edges. Primarily what I did, and like I said, I'll go through this, to get to the point as far as how I got to this. Create a spline all the way around the track, and then basically convert it to an editable poly. And from there you can adjust the vertices on the edges there so that they made up to the edge of the track geometry, as far as that where the infield would generally be. So yeah, the biggest complication, like I said, that has been up to this point is to get all of this to show. We didn't want to use the road course that's on the SAT image, as we needed this to show, and the fact that it's got an elevation there now. It's not 100% flat, like I said. That's what needed to be cut out so we could get that to bleed through, and you can see that clearly by if I bring this here, let's do this actually. Click out of that for a second so it shows up a little better. Okay, so what we have, you can really see the elevations in here as far as this is the front stretch, just by start finish line. This was going into what would be considered turn 1 for the road course. That's the other half there. There's our we still need to make an object, I guess, to fill this void, but you can see the edge of the new infield object here, and I'll just kind of pan this over. You can see the track surfaces coming through very nicely. You can see the course very good, and it's you're able to. This is why I wanted to kind of do it this way. Let me see here. Yeah, I was like, what the heck's going on? Okay, so yeah, I wanted to see how that would look on the SAT image. It is a little bit, it's not very good quality when I apply it this way, and that's what I want to at least determine. So there's probably some areas like this painted area here I'll probably recreate to make that a little bit more vivid, a little bit more clear, to include like the bump or the curbings and stuff like that. I'll probably, because as the way these are designed so far, as you can see, is the edges of these, the F sections here for the infield part of the road course are going over the curbing, so that's all going to have to be applied independently. But it lines up pretty good. That's what I was pretty satisfied with the turnout of it so far. But what needs to be fixed, and I'll probably just maybe kind of go over that really quick before I go into the whole process to get to this point. If you pan in here, as far as like where the edge of where the infield would be, what I did not do yet is to mate the edge of the infield object, which there's plenty of vertices there to be able to bring that up so that it mates to it fills in this gap all the way around the track. So that's something I have not done. The only thing I've focused on so far to this point is just to get the track surface to come through, to include all this here that's not used, but it still needs to be there. And I have not, I had no intention. This is why I wanted to see how this would look. I had no intention, of creating. Oh, dang it, pushing too many buttons. Yeah, I had no intention in actually creating this as a geometric because it's not actually raced on. So the only thing we do necessarily need to have is only the primarily area that is raced on, which we do have. So okay, now I got all the details of that out there, what I can do. And like I said, the model of the track that I have in here, the model of the track that I have in here currently, let me see, bring up my 3ds Max here. So this is a direct representation of the track that we're seeing in our sandbox utility, which is this one here. Let me put this back in geometry view really quick. And so this track layout that you see here so far as all the splines in here, this is a direct representation in 3ds Max. So all this white and this gray that's not textured, that's the same track. It's a one-to-one representation. So what I can do from here, and what I have done, and I'm going to go into more detail with this, is to now fine-tune all these different points of the infield object so that it mates much more closely, I guess, to that track spline geometry. Let's just go ahead and bring up Steve. How we doing there, buddy? Yep, you can see the audio commands are still working. That's cool. Welcome to the stream. How are we doing this afternoon? I'm kind of recuperating a little bit, I guess, from I had a bit of a bug. Yeah, a little bit of a bug. I've been in and out of the restroom for the majority of the day, so I was kind of a little bit iffy as to whether or not I was going to be able to do this or not. I know I took last week off, so I didn't want to deny anybody, I guess, as far as the process. I know a lot of people are excited to see. I've talked with a few people as far as they're excited to see this this deal that I've been working on get completed. We've already been able to test it in the simulation itself, so that's a huge step. So, all right. As I was saying, what I need to do is adjust these vertices, and you can see where all it's been. Where it's been cut here to get around all this geometric. Okay, so what I need to do, I still got the mapping, the UV. Okay, this is probably a fair thing to bring up too. The fact that I have this infield object is mapped. It's got a texture on it. I still have the UVW unwrap modifier, which allows you, I know I've gone over a lot of this stuff, so it might tend to be redundant, but you can see the mapping of the texture that I've created to that 3DO model. So And yeah, you can see how I've cut it to where the geometric spline of the track, as far as this infield part of the road course, is actually, that's what you see here. That's all been cut out so that I can adjust that independently. And to be perfectly honest, it was a lot of Boolean cutting, and the Boolean cutting, we've gone over that several different times before, but I truly had to put that to use, as far as the creation of this. There's a lot of complexity in this infield object, and yeah, I'm gonna try and show a lot of that once we're done, throughout the duration of it. That's primarily what I want to focus on here. I want to be able to show the ability to be able to, because we've shown a lot, I guess, about as far as using the LiDAR data, the point cloud data, which is relatively a 3D model itself, just like this model of the track spline geometry that we have. But there's so much information in it, so it's like trying to get it, people to understand as far as like what goes into building something this complex. It's not something that just can be done very quickly. So yeah. Classy gets sassy. Thank you for the follow. How are we doing this afternoon? Or this evening? I think it's, I know you're West Coast. I appreciate you stopping by. Glad to see you. How are we doing? Hope everything's okie dokie over in your world. Having a little bit of fun currently, I guess, with some 3D modeling. I tend to get pretty creative-y, as you would say, as far as other than the fact, like I mentioned, I've been mentioning, as far as just getting over a little bit of a flu bug. Yeah, I've been in and out of the restroom, I guess, a few times today, and it's just like, don't know where it came from. So I've taken myself some meds and kind of focused on something else besides just being under the weather, to be honest. And I think it does have to do with a lot of the weather. The weather's been up and down. It's been like in the 40s, 50s, and then it gets down into the freezing. It's ridiculous. It says murder on the body. So it's like, yeah, but I definitely do appreciate that follow there, Classy. Very classy, sassy. Okay. I'm still trying to... I'm debating here because all this is done. And I guess one of the things I wanted to do, that's what other thing I wanted to do. Let's hide this for a second. This is our infield object with the mapping. Shows the wire for that. And you can see it a little bit closer as far as how that's all cut out to see all that definition as far as the surface that's actually raced on. And the main idea behind this, oh yeah, definitely taken. Yeah, it's like I said, I had done. It was brutal as far as when I woke up this morning with a headache, to the point where I don't want to go into the details of it, but you kind of get the idea. It's just that flu bug that's been going around there. I think, actually, going back to, I guess, to TwitchCon, because I know you had gone to TwitchCon, as far as the bug, they called what did they call that? You can probably refresh my memory on that. There's quite a few people that went to TwitchCon, I guess, that Steve trying out those audio commands. We got a lot of different audio commands for the different things that stream here. Farming Fridays. I keep all those audio commands up there. Yeah, the con flu. Yeah, that deal. That was ugly. There's a lot of people. That's what kind of observing, I guess, what everybody else dealt with the con flu. Yeah, that's kind of. I got it. That's. Even though I didn't go to TwitchCon or anything like that, that's what it felt like. I mean, it was ugly. Why is that one in cooldown? Oh, you know what it is, Steve? Because you already did an audio command for the rooster there, you gotta wait a little bit. That's just so that people don't spam the audio commands one after the other. So you just have to wait a few. it'll come around. Yeah, I was getting some people that were just spamming the audio commands, and I couldn't even hear myself talk. So, just so that people don't. Yeah, I know how you is. See, it's for people like you necessarily, but yeah, we're good. That's I'm glad people necessarily enjoy, I guess, doing those audio commands. I like to give something the viewers, I guess, to interact with. I guess it's when I'm doing spoopy stuff. As far as like that tend to get me a little bit salty, just to kind of set myself straight again. So, all right, without going into too much more detail, I guess, about this, you kind of get the idea as far as what's going on with this. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do, and I was going to try and fix the ends of it, but because I got the map modifier in there, I want to kind of keep that in there to get to that point in a new construction of an infield, just to kind of give you an idea of how I got to this point. And like I said, it does involve quite a bit of Boolean cutting, and we've showcased that plenty of times before. So I'll bring the track back, and I'm going to hide the. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and hide this section here. There we go. So now that's all we got left is the track spline geometry there, which is, again, this basically what you see here. This is a direct representation of that. So what I can do at this point, I can kind of go over, and this might be really quick, so if there's anything that gets missed as far as something like, whoa, hang up a minute, how'd you do that? Feel free to let me know. I'm kind of here to give some insight as far as what the process for doing these types of things is. So, okay, so just feel free to chime in, I guess, if I'm going too fast. But primarily what I'm going to do at this point is I want to fill this void out. And by the way I'm going to do that is to go up in here. No, I'm going to go to the star. And then I'm going to make sure I'm in compound objects. Actually, no. Sorry about that. It's the second tab here for those that have. And I'm using 3ds Max 2014. Have not been able to get the latest version of it yet. Eventually, I'm hoping to do that. There's not a whole lot of difference in the version of 3ds Max as far as how these workflows work. So, as long as you get into splines from the second tab here and this second as far as shapes, and you want to have this option for line, this will allow you to create your spline. So you select this line, and you can start pretty much anywhere you want based on what you have here. I could start up over here. I tend to like to start doing with these types of things. This is where my front stretch is, where the start-finish line, the lead segment, if you will. So that's kind of why I tend to start over here. I mean, it's not pertinent that you start in a particular position, because you can adjust it anyway once it's all laid out. So what I don't want to include, I only want to focus mainly on this void here. I'm not going to do this. Is going to be an entirely separate object over here to fill this void eventually. So right now, and this is probably a critical point, you want to make sure when you're doing your spline that you have the entire area that you want to be able to lay your spline in view as far as the viewport is concerned. Otherwise, once you start, it's not going to allow you to move your viewport so that you can get the areas that's kind of off screen, off of view. So you want to make sure that it's close enough in there, and you'll be able to adjust all these vertices, the little vertex points, once you get them all laid out and you close it up and whatever. And I'm going to show that right now. So I'm going to start from this point, and you can kind of get the idea. You can see your first initial point always starts off as a yellow dot when you do this procedure, and all I'm doing, and I'm kind of tucking it under just a little bit. It might be a little bit hard to see, but all I'm doing is left clicking to create a perimeter all the way around the void here. And the key to this is you want to put as few points as possible. More is not always better in this case. You want to try to use as few as possible, and it's always possible, even with that being said, to add additional ones as you see necessary as you try to adjust this once it's initially laid out. And I think I'll just go all the way down here like this. That's pretty straight. It'll give me the option to close, and I want to say yes. So now that's completely closed in. Now from this point, I can, now that it's completely closed in there, I can right click on this, make sure I have it selected. It should be selected. And right click on this and convert to editable poly in this case by right clicking on it, and that fills it all in. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is going to be you know, for this procedure at least anyways, to adjust all the areas that you might not have gotten. Now that it's in the editable poly, I have the option to adjust all these little vertices. So all these points that I laid down there, these are all adjustable. Okay. Let me keep, this mouse is very sensitive. I gotta change the DPI here a little bit. There we go. It's very touchy. So yeah, what I can do at this point is adjust all these, see these little gaps that I have in here. Whether or not I'll need to, and like I said, I've done this very quickly, just as long as this is tucked in here, I can kind of select all these different points now and just kind of tuck this in here. Now, be it the fact that this is still a top-down view, I'm not taking care of the gap that necessarily exists this way, so you can see the gap this way too. But try to do, you know, put yourself in a discipline to do one thing at a time. Don't try to do both at the same time, because it'll get messed up. Trust me. I can tell you from experience. So I'm just going around this just to make sure, from the top-down view at least anyway, that it's covered and it's slightly tucked under our track spline geometry model. I don't see any, like maybe over here. Yeah, so I'm just going to fine-tune these. Okay. Doesn't look like I need to add anything more, which is good. Alright, just to kind of get that tucked in there a little bit. There we go. Okay, now from this point what I can do is I can really zoom in on this. So if I use the Z key with that vertex selected there, I can zoom out on this. You can zoom back out just a tad. Now what I can do is on the Z here, I can either go down here and just move it up. I tend to just like to pick it up like this, and you can see it. Oh, I might be grabbing it in the wrong spot. Okay, hold on here. Should be able to. Wow, that's interesting. Is that further out than I thought? Okay, let's try a different point here. Alright, I see how you is. It necessarily might be. I might have to do a complete side-on view, so let's do that and zoom in on that. There we go. So you can really see the distance between. Alright, so let's go ahead and do it this way. There we go. Alright, now if I pan this around. Okay. Yeah, that's a little better. Change the perspective there a little bit. See, now you can see it, how it's bleeding through as I pull this up on the Z, and that you can see it changing down here too. You can see how far I've got it tucked under there and how it bleeds into the tracks, you know, this model mesh. So that's more or less what I want to do. Now you can necessarily take the approach of doing a snap, turn your vert and edge snaps. What I've come to find in this method, because there's so many points in this model, it doesn't want to snap where you want it to go very well. So I've just found it more useful, I guess, to just go ahead and grab those particular points like I just did and observe how it bleeds through the mesh, the model mesh, and just do it that way. You can attempt to do a snap by just turning your snaps on, and either using both the vert and the edge snap, or just either or. In fact, I'll just demonstrate this, I guess, really quick here. So it's like if I have the vertex and the edge snaps on, you can kind of see it works out. I guess it does work out pretty good. You won't always get this effect though. Sometimes it'll get wonky on you. But in this case, it does seem to be, yeah, see, it's not 100% snapped. See, if I turn this to the side here, it's still not 100% snapped. So, and the fact that I don't see it bleed through the actual mesh like that, see, this is a perfect example. It doesn't put it exactly where you want it. A lot of times I can turn off, let's say, vert snap, the vertices, and just leave the edges on. See, you can see how it gets really wonky. You don't want it showing through the mesh. You want it just to kiss it, if you will. So, again, that's kind of why I've found it necessary to just do it this way until it bleeds through and just kind of tuck it down. Like so. And then if I pan it over there, now you can see that's filled in. See them where it's not yet. Okay. So, and you just have to do that all the way around. Do that all the way around here. Okay, just gotta find a point here. There we go. Okay, so then just zoom in on that with the Z and zoom back out just a tad. There's a lot of panning around with it, that's for sure. That's doing it again. Okay, hold on. I gotta change my perspective. Let's bring that back down. See, when you don't see it, this as I done there, when you don't see it coming through there, that means your orientation as far as your little transform gizmo, you're not truly grabbing the Z-axis. You're grabbing more than that. So that's when you don't see it bleed through there, that's when you need to readjust. So like I can just move this like so until I got the better view. And because there's so much elevation change in this thing, yeah, see now you can see it bleeding through. Just kind of tuck it under just a little bit, and there we go. Okay, so we should have another point. Looking for the blue points. There we go. Here's the next one. There we go. So once you get into, kind of a flow here, it makes it a little bit easier. I know, trying to explain it all, it's just like, it's a lot to try and get under there. See, so there might be some cuts that I might have to make to kind of fill in these points where it's not getting 100% up to that. There's a little bit of a gap there, not too terrible. And at any time, as far as doing this process, you can always render it. Going up to the renders, I'll do a render setup, and let's put it at 800 by 600, and just render it, just to kind of get an idea of how it's turning out that way. So far it looks pretty good. It's not artifacting or anything like that. We're good so far. And do please keep in mind, if I'm going too fast with any of this, let me know. I will be more than glad, I guess, to elaborate on any of this that I'm doing. So I know I can tend to go a little bit too fast, and people get confused and be like, yeah. So okay, I might have to put a cut in here eventually because it's kind of not tucked under that a little bit. And again, get into the discipline of only doing one thing at a time. Don't try to adjust it in so many different directions at once. Because, yeah, just try to do one thing at a time. I've come to find that that type of workflow, it gives you better results. Yeah, see, I'm definitely going to have to put a cut in here. For sure, because that's not 100%. Now, I could bring this, if I really wanted to, I could bring this all the way in like that. I don't really like how far that's going into. That's just a personal. I'm going to keep it about the same distance, I guess, from the edge as far as tucked under. I mean, this is not wrong. Try not to get me wrong, but it's like, I don't know if I like that. We'll go ahead and do that just for the sake of this, though. I laid this out pretty quickly, like I said, so yeah, see that's bleeding through, so that's good. And, okay, so I should have a point here. And all I'm doing is just drag selecting, because I know I've got points roughly in those. Because they're underneath this track mesh model, you can't see them until you just drag select it. This one needs to go down just a tad more. And you can always reassure yourself by rendering it to make sure that it's not bleeding through. Yep, that looks pretty good so far. Okay. Okay, so we should have a point. We got one there. There's the other one. So bring this up. Yep. That looks pretty good there. Alright, should have a point in here somewhere. There we go. Bring that up. Whoop. Yep, so you see how it just bleeds through. Tuck it down just a tad. Alright. Now there should be... Oh, this is the one I went all the way across. Down here. I don't have anything in between here. This is pretty straight in this part. And this would be what would be considered pit road. As far as our virtual world. Okay, so... Whoa. Damn mouse. I keep adjusting the DPI on this thing. It's a very good mouse if you're using it, if you use it correctly. Okay, so see what it's doing so far, and you can see that change in elevation over here. As I move just this vertice, it's wanting to pull a lot of this up already. And that's primarily why you need to cut this all out, so that you can adjust this area independently from the rest of it. Because otherwise, you're going to have a lot of this track surface that gets raced on. It's going to be below that infield object. So, okay. So, what we're going to do is just make sure it's just lightly tucked under there, like so, like that. And I don't have anything in here in this area yet. The only places that I have any points is on the extreme edge of this. Eventually, once I Boolean cut it, it's going to have points in here where I can adjust them more precisely there. And we're going to get to that. Okay, so if I bring this up, tuck it under, bring this up. Yep, so you can see, ooh, I had two of them. 2 points there, so let's just undo that for a second. So I have a point here. Okay. Perfect. I had a lot more points, you know, as far as these vertices in the model that I have currently. In the model that I've already showed to start there, I've got a lot more points than I do here, that's for sure. Alright, so there's one here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and render this just to ensure that it's not bleeding through in the fashion that I don't want. Okay. Let me zoom in on that just a little bit more. And I'll render it again. And doing this rendering thing is going to give you more of a a more precise as far as what it's going to look like. If you see any artifacting of this edge that I'm trying to put here, as far as this pukey looking green coming through the white or the gray in the render scene, then you know you need to adjust it in the perspective view, in the viewport. So okay, so moving along, so that's good there. Yep, see all this, we'll be able to adjust that manually. See, I'm going to have to bring this in a little bit, because I could still got a gap this way. Okay. Yep, still a little more. I might have to cut that a little bit more when I do my Boolean cut. I should be able to apply an additional vertex in there. Alright, so bring this up. Okay. This is a pretty simple model. yeah, I'm sure you probably can imagine here. There's not the only complexity that's in it is to just the fact that you have to have all these cuts in it to be able to adjust them at the particular points. But for the most part, this is a very, very, very simple model. Okay. Alright, so we'll do about like that. So the fact that we have this kind of all... Yeah. Hi, Bank. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Rap Nation. How are we doing this fine evening, afternoon? Glad to have you. Wow, we're getting a lot of new, that's cool. I like to see that. As far as more of the sim racing community, I guess, coming over here, I guess, to see what I got going on with this type of stuff. There's not a lot of this that gets showcased quite a bit, and that's partially the reason I like to do these. Yeah, because you can see a lot of this I missed here. So we're going to have to adjust that. Hurt my brain with well, yeah, don't allow me, I guess, to hurt it too much, okay? And I've always mentioned this, my philosophy has always been, not to be too harsh, but the only dumb questions are the ones not asked. If there's something that you don't quite get as far as what I'm trying to apply here and what I'm trying to show, feel free to ask. Okay, I mean, I am in no means one to, I guess, to point people out to be like, really? You didn't know that? I mean, this is why I do these streams, because there's not a lot of people, I mean, they have somewhat of an idea what goes into these types of things, but they don't know everything. I've got a little bit of experience with that, and that's why I like to do these streams. So that people have a little bit, if anything, they get a better appreciation for the amount of time that goes into creating such things as this. So, but if you do, I tend to get proactive, I guess, with trying to create something on your own based on the information I can provide, then more power to you. Alright, so now we got that all adjusted. To this point, this is where it gets a little tricky. Okay. What we need to do now at this point so that we can cut out this area here that is raced on, all this area in here, and it's hard to see it because it's covered, a lot of it. We need to be able to cut out in our poly here that we have, and this is all, let me see how many polys this is actually. I can select polys here, select all those, and right now we have, that's only one poly. Okay, and up until we get it cut out, we'll have more polys into it. But the key is regardless of what type of simulation that you're trying to build it for, you want to keep those polys to a minimum. Okay, put as much detail as you can without going too far overboard to be like as far as the different rendering systems, for graphics, that it can't do it. And this goes all the way back to what we've shown, I guess, with using the point cloud data with the LiDAR. There's so many points in there. We're talking millions and millions of points. There is no, I mean, to put it simply, there's no you would have to have a supercomputer, probably bigger than probably what NASA's got, to be able to render that properly. Any type of graphics engine. So the fact that we have to make these lower detail, lower poly models, I guess, of something that's more detailed, as far as more points included in it, this is why, again, we kind of show this here. You can still get quite a bit of detail into these things without, I mean, it'd be glorious if we could use LiDAR data, to include even this model here that I have of the track spline. All these points in here, I mean, it's kind of hard to see in the stream, but you can just tell how much detail is in here. If we could use this as an actual model, just the way it is, that'd be glorious. But the fact that that's impossible. There is no, I mean, even with the newer simulations out there, as far as different game types, as far as the graphics engines, it can't do it. It's impossible. So, again, part of the reason why I tend to stream these types of things is to kind of understand what goes into the thought process of building these types of things. So yeah, now where we're at, I'm trying to get sidetracked here a little bit. We need to cut out that area, like I said, and the way we do that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this one poly that we have for the object so far, like so, and I'm going to go complete top-down view, and I just want to kind of turn this way, make sure we're top-down, complete, there we go. Now what we can do is we can create a new spline as a cutter to cut into that one poly object that we just completed to get this area cut out. And the way I went about it initially, I'm probably going to try something here. I want to see if I can get away with just doing one big piece as far as for this outside and in here inside, so inside and outside at the same time. I'm going to see if that'll work. It may or may not, because the way you have to do, and I'm going to show this, when you lay your spline out as far as to do a cross section and all that stuff, you have to do those independently. So let me kind of take this really, really slow. And again, if there's anything that I'm moving too fast on, you want a little bit more explanation, do necessarily stop me and say like, whoa, how'd you do that? I'll be more than glad to elaborate. Okay, so what we need to do at this point again is go into this tab and yeah, so in this starburst here, make sure it's in splines. You got to pull down here, go into splines, and you want your line. Okay, that's over in this area. So now what I can do is I'm going to create another spline going from here, and I want to make this pretty precise. I want to get a lot of this detail in here, and I'll be able to adjust a lot of these before I make my official cutter, before I actually cut it. But this one I want to get a little bit more crazy, I guess, with how many points are in this, because I want it to be very refined. I don't want it to be jagged. Okay. So you kind of see how this works here. And this is the first step. Okay, this is pretty straight here, so I'm going to go this. Curves can be somewhat of a bear. This is pretty straight here. The curves, I probably want to have a few more points than, you know, just kind of get a little bit crazy with this when you're creating your cutter, your Boolean cutter. And I can adjust a lot of these, so I'm not going to kind of whip through this really quick. I mean, as far as the way I did it off stream there prior to, you know, showcasing this on stream there, I was a little bit more meticulous with it. So alright, and then what I'm going to do, I'm trying to remember how I did that now. I think I'm going to cross this way. Yeah. Pretty sure that's how I did it. I think that's how I did it. Now I gotta have to remember, because I think, and this is why I was talking about as far as being able to do them both at the same time, as far as just gonna run it through here. You could probably do that, actually, now that I think of it. You should be able to take this through here and then close it up that way. Let me try it that way, actually. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. Okay, so I still got line selected there, so I'm going to go this way and lay this back out. Okay, so I'm just going to follow through with this again. It can tend to get really tedious. You do have to have a steady hand, that's for sure. I kind of lied a little bit, I guess, too. I guess as far as not being able to move around in there. If you have a mouse that has a middle button, I guess it does let you. I guess the key to what I was trying to point out, having it all in one view, is so you don't have to do that, because you can screw it up pretty easy. You know, as far as like if you have to mouse it out like that with your middle mouse button. So, and then you sometimes, if you're this far into it and then you have to start over, that can get frustrating sometimes. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, once I get down here, is I'm going to cut it across here. This might get a little bit wonky, but I can fix that as I, yeah, so I'm going to go through the inside here as well. And just create some of an outline here. Okay. Don't have to get really particular with it, because you can adjust them post-fact, just like I did with our initial poly model for the infield object. So, alright, just going around like so. Yeah, where this might become a problem now that I do this is I'm not going to have the same number of points as... Okay, so we'll see how this works. I may actually be wrong, but let's see here. Because the key to doing these cross sections, so it's probably a good thing that I'm kind of doing it this way. The key to doing these cross sections, you have to have the same number of vertices. In fact, let me go into here. Whoops. Go into spline. You want to have the same, you have to, this is a necessity, the same number of splines on one line. So in this case, the adjacent line has to have the same number of points so it can do the cross section. Because if you don't, you won't get favorable results. So even as I do this, if I have it at spline selected, you can see all the points on there. I'm going to see what happens here. I can already tell this is not going to work. I know you're probably like, what are you looking at? I'm looking at how many points that I have in both lines there. So I'm gonna have to do them independently. Yep. Because I don't have, because even if you're one off on one line or than the other, the cross section is not going to be favorable. And the cross section is basically taking two splines. If I was to copy this, the way this is right there, copy it and do a cross section so it connects the two, that's a cross section. You have to have the same number of points, you know, the vertices, on both sets of lines. Otherwise it will not do the cross section properly. So okay, so I guess what I have to do, I have to scrap that, unfortunately. So I'm going to do them independently. I'll do this line out here and I'll do this one inside. Okay. Now we got that established. And there was a bunch of different things that I tried because I wanted to... Oop. Alright. So I need to go in back into here, back into line, and lay this back out again. And this is, you know, a common process here. It's like you'll find yourself doing it over and over again to get the result that you want. There's no wrong way to do this, that's for sure. There's other ways to do this as well, as far as like using planes. Like, say for example, if you want to create a plane, to be honest, to get more precise on like these corners and such like that, you almost want to use a spline, like as I'm doing, because to try and conform a plane, it's a bit tougher. It's going to be much tougher. So, all right. Yeah, I can adjust a lot of that there. So what I'm going to do, I think, I might not even have to do a cross section actually. No, I shouldn't even have to. I can do it just like this. Alright, now from here, I need to do spline. And I want to clone this. Yeah, so there should be a point right here is where I started. Okay. Should be. Alright, now I want to clone this. Do it as a copy. And I've gone over this before too, the difference between an instance and a copy. If you do it as an instance, your clone options, if you do it as an instance, any changes that you make in one line, in this case, happens to the other one as well. If you do it as a copy, they're independent of each other. As far as any adjustments you make in one, and it does not affect the other. So, and we've mentioned that before, but that's a nice little refresher footnote there. Okay, so we want to clone that as line 3 in this case. And the naming conventions of that's not critical. Now what I can do with that cloned, it's going to be right on top of the other one, so I can take that and just move it up. So now you can see that's floating, and it doesn't matter how high it is. I want it to be extended past the actual model here, so we want to go, let me see here. What I might have to do initially, just so I can fine-tune and tweak, you know, because I want to make sure, and I can probably do that after, to be honest. I guess once I get it cross-sectioned, yeah, I'll just do it that way. So now that I got these two lines, I don't want to confuse anybody. That's my whole problem, because like there's plenty of different ways I could go about this from this point, but I'll keep it as simple as possible, just so that viewers understand. Okay, so with that line here, and that's a direct copy that I have for the two lines, so it has the same number of vertices in them. That's a critical point. Now what I need to do is go into spline on either one of these. Doesn't matter if it's this one or the other one. And choose spline. And then I need to do an attach. And what this should do, if I did it right. Oh, you dirty rat. Okay, there it is. You get that little funky icon like this. So if I go like this, that'll attach those two. Okay, so now those two are attached. Now what I need to do is apply a cross section. So once you get them both highlighted like that with the attach, now you can go to cross section, and then any one of these 2 points, like I usually just start from here. Oh, you dirty thing. Alright, hold on. Right click out of that, I get you out. Why is it going there? Yeah. I'm going to try this just to see. But I think this is not going to work. Oh, maybe it will work. So that's exactly what I want. I want these to be, see how these lines are perpendicular now? I guess like that's the result you want. That's what you're looking for. Okay, so let me close the track mesh. I want to see how this looks over on this end. From this vantage point, it looks pretty good, but yeah, I want to double check this. So yeah, that's actually favorable. Alright, so the two things, if it wasn't clear, you first want to attach so that both lines are highlighted and they're like loosely welded together, tacked together if you will, and then do the cross section. This gives you this orientation here, so that's basically 2 steps to get it to this point. Okay. From here, what I can do, now that I got that done, I can just right click on this and convert it to an editable poly. And what the heck happened there? Oh, that's not cool. What happened there? Oh, I know what I missed. I got ahead of myself. You have to put the surface modifier. Okay, so while it's still in this one here, you want to put a surface modifier. See, I was kind of getting ahead of myself there. So in the rollout here with this selected like that, you just put a surface modifier into it. So just scroll down here. You can type it into there we go. So that puts a surface modifier on it. Okay, from here, I don't think we'll need to adjust anything. I can see the number of polys in here, but to get an idea of how many polys will be in this, and this is only going to be used as a cutter. Okay, it's going to more or less disappear once we use it as a cutter into the infield poly. So just keep that in mind. Now, I need to apply an editable poly rollout on this. So let's do this. We'll do an edit poly like so, and this shows you visually how many polys are in that. And then what you usually will need to do, if I select surface here, you can turn the steps down, and most of the time I can do 0. So if I go back into the editable poly, there, so now it's a 1-to-1 as far as the surface modifier. You don't need that many polys in this. Okay, so that's the 2 other steps you have to do once you get your line, your 2 lines attached as well as cross-sectioned, is you want to apply a surface modifier and editable poly modifier. Okay, so now from this point, now that you got it, this steps are down to 0. Now I can convert it to an editable poly, and it removes all the other items in the rollout because you don't need them anymore. So now this item here, whoops, as I go into polys, polygon, this has 32 polygons, and you only need the polygons to be on the one face to use as a cutter. You don't need them on both sides. You can see this darker side that's here. You only need it on the one side as far as to be able to cut. And we've gone over a lot of this before, so a lot of this is a refresher. Okay. Now what I can do is bring back our infield object. Actually, no, I want to bring back the track mesh. That's what I want. And then I can fine-tune the areas on this cutter that will be used as a cutter to define that that area better. See, from this point, what I can do is I can clone this cutter to make the internal. I can adjust those. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll do an edit clone this object as a copy. Alright, and then from here, I'll just slide it out of the way like this. And then I can adjust those independently on the inside. So if I go into vertex here, I can grab any of these points and just kind of move those in and get it to line up to the interior. So we'll just kind of loosely put these into place like so. Let me go down. Let me see if I can do it this way. Yeah. Top down view. What the heck is going on there? Kind of wonked it out there. Okay. Yep. I kind of wonked it out there just a little bit. I don't know how that happened, but okay. See, it was straight up and down. Let me adjust that. Pull it out this way. That's a little better. Yep, must have been the way I grabbed it. Okay. It's not wrong. It's what happens. Just realizing what you did when you know what's happening to it. Alright, so bring these in. Okay. Let's bring this in. Yep, so I'm just kind of loosely putting these in place here like that. kind of outline the interior part of this. Yep, so I'm kind of grabbing both those vertices on the top and bottom, pulling them simultaneously. And like I said, all this is going to serve as is a cutter for our infield. See, we're going to have to add some in there because this is too straight. We'll probably move this. There we go. Kind of get the contour of that corner there a little better. Okay. Starting to get a little bit nauseating again. I might have to take some more meds here in a few. I can feel the stomach getting unsettled again. So hopefully it doesn't impair my ability to... okay. So now we got that. Now we need to put... Whoops, guess I missed this. Just gonna get this all loosely into place here. Alright, so now... Alright, is that... Yeah, okay. So I gotta move all this here. Okay, let's go back to top down. Nope, just gonna move this all in place. So, you can kind of get the idea as far as what I'm talking about, as far as how much you'd have to do to get this infield object cut, so you can get all this detail defined into it. See, I did it again there, that part. Only selecting the one, yep. This, seriously? Holy crap. There we go. I'm gonna get those both here. Come on. No. I'm being a poopy. Okay, there we go. I could have just zoomed in on it, to be honest. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm just getting these loosely lined up here for now. Probably have to adjust them again before I cut, but just to kind of get them somewhat into place. Okay, let's get 100% top down. Hate when that happens. How we doing there, Torch? Glad to have you in the stream. Hope your day's work is pretty good for you there. Okay. Ooh, baby. It's good to hear. Alright. So yeah, I got a couple of different points here. Oh man, how'd that happen? Yeah, so let's just move it like that. And put that one right there. So that's just loosely into place for now. That's not 100% where it's gonna... We're gonna have to probably cut... Or, yeah, cut into these polys a little more to, okay, yeah, so what we'll do now, go into vertex and this one. Kind of adjust this out. Yeah, kind of good to see we got plenty of members from the Inner 2003 community, I guess, coming in on the streams there. It's good to see. I like to see that. Alright. Okay, so the fact that I'm on completely top-down view here, it's giving me a much better... And I'm probably not going to use this as... should be a point right there. Oh, I'm not on that one. That's right. That's right. Okay. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what somewhat the process, I guess, for doing this is. this may not be 100% favorable for what I would use, because I've already got the infield object made. So I just want to go through, I guess, somewhat the process that I went through to get to that point. Alright, so now we have our two cutters, which will more or less serve as a one cutter, really, once it's all said and done here. It's not 100% clean. What you could do from here, if you needed to, let me see. Say like in this line here, it's not. Well, there are some vertices. Okay, let's check this out here for a second. Yeah, I should be able to move these. Kind of more precisely define this corner. Okay, as well as in here. Alright, so if I go vertice, vertex. Yep. Just gonna fine tune this a little more. I've got this pretty jagged, to be honest, but you don't want that as far as when you're cutting it, that's for sure. You want it to be as precise as possible. Not sure what's going on with that there. I don't know if that's it's not 100% top down. Maybe. Alright, just for the sake of this demonstration, anyway, let's say this is satisfactory. This will work. And as far as that way, as far as using it as a cutter. From this point, what I'd want to do, I'm just going to go into a side on view like this. Go to vertex, and I want to grab only the bottom vertices. Actually, I don't even need to do that. Yeah, I don't even need to do that. I can just lower that. Yeah, let me just lower it. And by doing so, that's going to put it below where the infield plane is, what it's going to cut into. It's, you want to have a little bit of excess, so that it makes the cut, it cuts completely through. Alright, so just by lowering that, and what I can do is I can actually look at the Z for that. I've got it at here, and I can just copy that to the other one so that's at the same level. Okay, go into this one, paste that into there. Now those are both at the same level. Now check this out. You can see, even by doing that, just how much elevation change that there is, because these are both these two booger green looking. Whoops, what the heck? Oh, got stuck in this. Yeah, these two booger green, you can see the elevation changes in this infield part here. It's higher up here, goes down, comes back up and over here. It's up higher up. So you can really get a sense of the elevation changes that are in that part of the track with that LiDAR data applied to it. So it's like the fact that it goes downhill here, goes back up here to get level again, I guess, with the coming back out into the main oval. It's pretty cool. So the fact that this is going to go away, it's kind of sad in a way. But now what we need to do is collapse these two into one object. So I'm going to take these two and collapse that into one object. So I'm going to my hammer, going over here, and yeah, going to collapse like so, and just collapse selected. So now that's one object. You want that to be one object. As far as the cutter, we don't want them independent. Won't give you the best result as far as doing that. So we want it as one object. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the infield object back. Line 0. That's what I was like, what the heck? Yeah, this is the one I already got done. It's like, almost forgot there. Okay, so this is the one that the new one that I made here. So now I'll do, let's hide this track mesh. So now all we have is just these two items. The item we want to cut and our cutter that we're going to use to cut it with. And you can see why you drop that down. You want that to protrude through so that it makes a cut through this model here, as far as their one poly for the infield object. We want that to be able to cut through that with that. So that's why you do it in this fashion. Okay, so now from this point, we want to go to Pro Boolean, or actually just Boolean is fine. Go into the starburst here. Same place you would go to get your line, to lay your spline, and then from here we want to go to Compound Objects, which is in this first tab. So into Compound Objects, and it may or may not be selected initially, so you can go to Compound Objects, and you'll have a Boolean option. Okay, and this is, you want to have selected the piece that you want to cut prior to doing this. So with the item that you want to cut selected, you do Pro Boolean, and go down into here, and you want to do cut refine, like such. And then once that's all selected there, you go pick operand B, and what the operand B is your actual cutter. So if I go like this, hopefully that works. So that didn't give me the result that I was expecting. That's a bummer. Something did not work out there. And it might be because I didn't have that closed in. This is probably a good thing, I guess, that it's happening in this way. You can see where it cut, but the fact that I had it split here in this part here and only did the one part. So what I'm probably going to have to do, let's go back, is I'm going to have to close this in. Yeah, let's go all the way back here like that. So what I have to do is I have to fill this in here so that it's connected. So at least at this point, so that it cuts on the opposite side, because it was only doing the 1/2 because it's not connected here. So all I need to do is just, and that's pretty simple actually. I can select this part here. And that's all one object. Doesn't need to be, it shouldn't need to be an editable poly, but I'll go ahead and do that anyway. So let's do that. Editable poly. And then go to polygon. Actually, I can go to edge. Okay. And then just do a shift, left shift drag. That'll create a new poly. And all I'm trying to do is just connect this here so that it doesn't have a gap there. Alright, so with that done, now I'll just snap. Let's put my vert snaps on here. Put that on up here. I'll turn the edge snaps off. Snap that to here. As well as snap this to here. So that closes that in. I think that's what the problem was there. As far as why it wasn't cutting all the way through. So it had that gap in there. Okay. So now with that completely closed in, it should work properly. Should is the operative word. So once again, we'll go back. Let's turn the snaps off here. Select the model you want to cut, like so, and then you want to go into your starburst. That's actually pretty funny. I'm kind of wish I had some starbursts right now. Anyway, do your starburst. Compound objects. So have your Boolean. And it'll initially apply some cutting there, which is not terrible. Go down your cut refine. Those two radio buttons. So you want the radio button for cut as well as refine. Okay. With that done, you do pick your operand B, and that's going to be your actual cutter. Nope, it's still doing that. Son of a gun. Okay, so we got something else we got to fix. It's kind of good that these types of things are occurring because it's you know, You might necessarily deal with this yourself. You'd be like, what the heck's going on? But the fact that I can go back. So, let's see what we did wrong here. Shouldn't have to. I might have to connect this all completely down here. And it very well might be, now that I think of it too, it might very well be because I don't have this extended past this edge. So the fact that it's not all the way out to this edge, so we're going to try that now. And just like having the, how far into the model cutting it this way, that's why you want it this way. You want the cutter, as far as what you're using to cut, you want it to surpass the edge to make sure it cuts through it cleanly. So no, they actually probably don't. And that's what I'm going to show here in a second here. iBank. It probably wouldn't hurt to be connected, but what the main thing is because this doesn't go all the way past the edge. See how like this one does? It's not cutting all the way through on this side. That's what's happening because it's not. So what I'm going to do right now, I need to go into the actual cutter. So right here. So if I go to vertex like that, and to stretch this out so that it goes past that edge, and I'm going to do the same thing with this here just to make sure, and you can over exaggerate it because you want to make sure it cuts all the way through that. So just make sure that's all the way past that edge. See? And that's not to say that you couldn't completely connect that. What I want to only what I wanted it to do though is I wanted to maintain it as this has separate polys in here. So if I go across this, it may necessarily chunk more out than I want to. So another reason why I do it this way. All right, so yeah, you want to make sure your edges are just like your z-axis would be far enough down into the object you're cutting, just like this is. You want these edges, I guess, to go past the edge that you're trying to cut through. So I think that's probably, so we're going to go ahead and try this. So with the piece that we want to cut selected, go back into Starburst, Boolean, and it'll do an initial cut. We want to do cut, refine. Pick your operand B, which is your actual cutter, and there we go. Okay, it's still kind of goofed up a little bit because I didn't cut this here, so I might have to close that in. But you get the idea. As far as like what you're trying to do is get this so that it cuts completely through. See, it's getting this outside edge, but it's not getting it in here. So we still got some refinements to do to our cutter, which can be adjusted. So just for the sake of it, I'm going to go ahead and fill, connect. See, I really should not have to do that. So the fact that it's actually giving me that result, that's kind of funky. But okay, we will deal with it. It's all good. Yeah, so it's not getting the interior here. Okay. Just looking to see. This might even actually be too low here. I'm not sure. Should be fine. I mean, it's extended past it well enough, I think. Okay. I think what I'll try and do here. Let's do this. So if I go into the cutter, what we're using as a cutter, I'm going to adjust these vertices here. Just bring these up. Like I said, you can over exaggerate these. You're only using it as a cutter. It's not. I just want to make sure they're up high enough. And they don't even necessarily have to be all the same height. So the fact that I'm doing this kind of all helter-skelter. Okay. So the outside was cutting fine. Just this inside was not. Alright. If this doesn't work this time around here, what I might do is just try and go ahead and connect these at this end here. I shouldn't have to do that, but it might even be because these polys are faced. Yeah, it should still cut. In theory. Okay. It's a good thing that these, these types of issues are coming up there, because it gives you an idea of what you might potentially work out through. Like I said, the primary thing you want to make sure when creating your cutter is that it's surpassing the edges, be it the bottom and the top surface and your extreme edge. That's critical, because otherwise you won't get a clean cut. And we've shown that before as far as our 3D Safer application, for example. Alright, so let's try this again. So with the infield object, the piece that we want to cut selected. Okay. Now we want to go to our starburst, boolean, cut, refine, pick operand B. Yep, see, it's still missing it here. I don't know why, though. Yep, we want it to cut all the way through that. Okay. Let's see how you is. Get it all the way back there. So, I'm going to have to connect this somewhere, at least anyway, to get that to... It's not going to do me any good to put it on the very end. I know that for sure, because it's beyond. But I'm going to try that anyway. So let's go to, on our cutter, like this. Let's go to edge. And just do a shift, drag that poly out. Whoops. Hello. Shift. Oh wait, I gotta go to polygon, my bad. Wait a minute. What the heck? Hold on. Come on, cooperate with me. So edge. Hello? Okay, let's try it this way then. Hope I'm not using up my memory already. There we go. Okay, so yeah, we just want to get a poly going on there. Shift drag that. We're going to grab these verts, turn on our vert snaps, snap this to here. We'll see if this works. So now I got that completely closed in there. Let's see how that works. And if it doesn't work this way, I'll put another poly like in between here somewhere to get that connected. Alright. So, go back to it again. So select the object you want to cut. Starburst. Boolean. Cut, refine. Pick operand B. Nope, still doing it. Okay. It's got a pretty good cut through it, other than right there. That's kind of crazy. Alright. It's being stubborn. Okay. So what I'll try to do then, let's turn off the snaps here for a second. We're going to force this thing. There's no reason why that shouldn't work. But again, like I said, the fact that these types of issues are coming up there, you might necessarily run into these yourself. But it's kind of working through it as far as like the different options that you would have. I don't think that's too low, because it's not even cutting through here. So, all right, let's do edge. Grab this edge. Nope, not that edge. This edge. Okay, let me go down to top-down view, and I want to shift drag that. I think that created a poly, I think. Oh, come on. Nope. Alright. So I did something wrong there. Okay, so I need edge. Work with me here. Should be able to shift drag that. Oh, come on. Oh, you dirty son of a gun anyway. Okay. Maybe that's not going to work like I thought it would. All I'm trying to do is create another poly to go through this to kind of connect those. But it's not wanting to work the way I want. I might have to detach first. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go to poly. And just collect any one of these. So we'll do detach. It's an object. Now, what I should be able to do, let's see. Select that edge. Top down view. Yeah, there we go. So I had to detach it in order to get that to do okay. So now I'll just have to collapse it again, not a big deal. Now I need to go in vertexes here. Let's do these one at a time. Turn on my vert snaps. Snap that there. Okay, where's the... There we go. Let me get that one there. Vert snap there. There we go. So that's snapped. So that's more connected there. So let's see how that works. Okay. Try it again. So now we got that somewhat connected there. That should hopefully... We're going to find out here in a second. So let's select the object we want to cut. Turn off the snaps. And starburst. Boolean. Cut, refine. And pick operand B. Yep, that's exactly what I thought it would do. It's stopping right at... Oh, I didn't connect that back. I didn't collapse it. So I think the fact that... But it is cutting it through there. It did cut up to that point. So I might have to connect this a little more. Okay. Yeah, I forgot to collapse that all together because it kind of stopped there. Alright, so let's do... Let's collapse these first and see what that does. Go to my hammer. Collapse. Collapse selected. There we go. Oh, I should just have that by itself. Alright. Let's try that again really quick here just to see. Starburst. Boolean. Cut, refine. Pick operand B. Yep, see it's stopping right at that point. So what I can do is just put probably a couple more intersections here, cross sections here to get that. That's not a big deal. To give us the result we need. Alright, so let's back that up. Okay. Okay, so what we need to do... let's go to polygon in this. Okay. Hopefully this is making sense to people as far as what I'm trying to show. So select that polygon. I'm going to attach that as an object. And that's only to get at the edge that I need to create a new poly from. So I select the edge. Okay. And then I'm going to shift drag that. Oh, excuse me. Got the wrong edge selected, I think. Let's go into this one. Go into edge. Shift drag that out. Yep, creates a new poly. Well, a good thing it's making sense. I mean, as long as you, yeah, as long as it is making sense, that's what's the critical thing. I don't want to confuse anybody, but it's just to give you an idea of somewhat the process, you know, of what's involved with doing these types of things. So, as long as it's making sense, that's the important thing. So what I need to do here is go to vertex, turn on my vertex snap, and snap that to here. And this one on the bottom here, and snap that to there. Okay, turn that off. I just have to make sure to, and I'll probably just go ahead and put another one in here too. Yeah, let's put one up the ways here. Yeah, let's put one like right up in here. So we'll go to poly, detach that as an object. Okay, select that one. Hello, that's the one I want. Okay. That's about what I'm not sure. Technically, the only thing I can think of when I did the infield object that I have done, I did them independently. And what I mean by independently is I did the outside and then the inside part. I didn't try to do it all at once. So that's the main difference. So the fact that it's not cutting all the way through in the region that it's, I'm not 100% sure. But if anything, there's a way around that. You know, there's a workaround, I guess, for, you know, trying to force it, I guess, to do that. And that's by adding these cross pieces here, you know, to cut through that physically. Then that's your answer. You know, so because I do know, like, for instance, I'm not out of whack, I guess you could say, as far as having an adjacent set of vertices across from the other side, so it's not offset in that fashion. So the fact that it's missing all this as far as cutting it, I'm not 100% sure. But again, just if anything, what I'm trying to show is the way to get around that, as far as if you're experiencing that type of thing, because it's obviously completely possible to cut this area out. Why is it not selecting this poly? Yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. But, you know, just to kind of explain a little bit further, and once again, just to summarize, when I did these cuts initially in the object that I already have done, I did them independently. I did not try to do it in this fashion. So, alright. But what I was trying to do is kill two birds with one stone and get it all cut out in one fall swoop. And it's possible. It's just a matter, you have to put these, what it's forcing me to have to do is alright, so let's go into this. Yeah, it's just to create these cross sections here. Alright, so if we go into edge, go here, and then do a shift drag. Nope. Keep doing that. So I'm in edge. Come on now. What is that? Shift. There we go. Sometimes you gotta zoom in a little bit. Alright. Now I need the vertices for that. And okay, hold on here. I gotta see where the vertices are from this part. Over here. Okay. Alright, so we're going to turn our vert snaps on, go to this, grab this vertex, snap that over here, and also get the bottom. Come on, there we go. Alright, so the bottom, what the heck? Oh, there we go. So this bottom here, snap that to there. There, that should be snapped in those verts there. Yeah, so just adding. Now we need to do, once again, collapse that all together. Go to my hand. I'm going to turn off the snaps. Collapse selected. That's all in all one piece again. Okay. Now, going back through it. So the piece you want to cut, go into Starburst, Boolean, cut, refine, pick operand B. Whoop, seeing it's missing here now. Good grief. We're getting there. We're definitely getting there. Yeah, the fact that it's wanting to leave all that out of there, that's kind of crazy. So we need to put something in this area so that it cuts all the way through on both sides. We're getting there. Okay. So we need to probably put at least one more set cross section in there. We'll get it. We'll get it here. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Alright, so let's select this. And let's go ahead and put one like here. Across this here. That should work. So what I need to do is go to polygon. It's possible. It's very possible. And that's what I was thinking of. That's why I kind of raised that other area. But the fact that when I raised this area, it didn't really cut through. Because I got plenty on the bottom side, that's for sure. You know, so that's probably a good point. That's probably a very good point. I might have it a little bit too low. I could probably bring it up a little bit. So let's try that. Let's test that theory. So let's kind of split it in the middle here a little bit. Kind of put more on the top than there is on the bottom than there was. So if I just go like this, let's see if that works. Okay. It probably still doesn't hurt to have these cross sections in here though. You know, it's not. Yeah, so we'll see here. Okay. So we'll work through this here. So let's try it this way. Let's just kind of raise that up a little bit. Okay. Oh shoot, I forgot to, hold on. I gotta back this up a little bit. There we go. I forgot to back it up a little bit more. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab this. Move that up a little bit. And just as long as we've kind of evened it out now, it's got just as much on the protruding on the bottom as it does the top. So we'll see how that works. Okay, now once again select the piece you want to cut. Starburst, Boolean, cut, refine, pick your operand B. Yep, see it's still leaving that out for some reason, even by doing that. Yep, so it's still going to require me, I guess, to put a cross section in there, looks like. Which is fine. That's the way it wants to be. Okay. So that was a good good point to make though, I guess, as far as, yeah, definitely ruled that out. And you know, again, like I said, the way I initially went about this is it's to do it independently. I did the outside cutter and then the inside. You know, copied that that piece for the cutter, put that to the side, and cut them independently. I didn't try to cut it all at once. So this is why I saved it, I guess, for the stream, because I want to be able to try it in that fashion. And the fact that it is possible, it's just that you've got to kind of fine tune, you know, as far as putting additional cross sections in here as well. All right, so what I need to do is go back into poly. Let's grab this one here, detach it as an object. Did it? Nope. The heck? Detach object. There we go. Okay, and then just select that, Go to edge. Select the edge. And just kind of rotate around that there so we can do a shift drag. That out like so. Alright, now we just got to see where we're kind of there. So I want to get those right into that. Does this indicate there is a connection issue in the inner part of the... It could be. I'm not sure. The fact that it's cutting through here, and this is all open, I got this closed up. Yeah, it's like I said, it kind of confuses me a little bit because the fact that it's cutting all through here, I don't have this closed in like I do this, and it's forcing me, I guess, to have to do all this. I'm not 100% sure, but it's not completely impossible to create one big cutter. I guess that's what we're in the process of doing right now. So, okay, now go on to these vertex. I'm going to turn on the vert snap. There. As well as down here. Like that. So those are snapped. Turn that off. Now I need to collapse those all again. Collapse, go to my hammer, collapse selected. Make it all one piece. Okay. Go back into... Now this is definitely should work. There should be no... I'll be surprised if it don't. Alright, so if we go into this, go to Starburst, Boolean, cut refine, pick your operand B, just the cutter. Yep, and it's still friggin', look at this crap. See, from this point, what I could probably do, that's probably what I'll end up doing, I can kind of fill that in. This is pretty, yeah, I think what I can do from here is just do a cut. If I change this to an edible poly, yeah, I can fill that in. And I could have done that even before doing all those cross sections, I guess, of the cutter to kind of fill this in here. But because it's only this here and I only got to connect that to that, what I can do at this point is convert this to an edible poly. Okay. And just apply, and I'll put it on edge snaps, edge invert snaps, like so. And then go to polygon. Yeah. Sorry about that. You gotta see this. Damn polys. Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, change it to an edible poly. I'm gonna put my vert and edge snaps on. Okay, and then I can do a cut right over here. And if I zoom in on this enough, I can just cut this like so. Yep, just get that pin in there like that. See, and I can cut it that way as well. Now, I might have to cut it again just to kind of refine this a little bit more. In fact, I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to have to cut this here. And that's where snaps come in very handy for this type of thing. So when it turns yellow like that, I can left click, drag it over here, and just right click to get out of it. So now I can more precisely define it. So if I go into vertex, holy crap, look at all these verts in here. What the heck? Yeah, see, so this is sometimes what will happen too, because I've put all those cross. A lot of these verts I don't need. So I might necessarily, find it necessary, delete some of these verts. It created a lot more verts than I really needed. No. The other cut that I did there was just basically a poly cut. If that's where you got lost. All I did was just do a cut into the poly. It is, I guess you could say it is somewhat of a different kind of cutter. You're not using another poly to cut into a poly. you're just cutting directly into the poly, like using like a saw, like a jigsaw or skill saw. So yeah, the way from what yeah, you can see here now, I've got all the boolean done. You can see all these extra verts now that are in here that I probably do not need. You can see these all kind of bunched together here. So that's sometimes the next step you need to go into as far as just to refine. Either delete them or spread them out. What I'm going to do, let's bring back the track mesh, like so. Yeah, we got a lot of verts we don't need, that's for sure. And this is common for applying a Boolean cut. You'll end up with a lot of vertices that you don't need. So like I said, what you necessarily have to do at this point, let's go completely top down, is to either spread them out or just delete them as necessary. So now I can just kind of refine. Okay, yep. Yep, so I can spread some of these out. And again, like I was saying before, because a lot of this part of the track is still, kind of buried, do one thing at a time as far as like adjusting your verts at this point. You want to get it to conform more to the area of the track that you're trying to define in the infield object. Okay, I was just catching my chat there. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything there. So yeah, like I said, what you'll end up having to do here, and this can be somewhat of a tedious process, like I mentioned, as far as to clean out all these additional verts that tend to get on top of each other. Some of them you may find it necessary to just delete them. Okay. Some of them you can keep and just kind of spread out. You can use that. You can use that to define. Excuse me. Oof. Hairball. Anyway, yeah, you can use those to define, more precisely define, I guess, your area that you're trying to define on your infield object. You mentioned adjusting or refining the shape later. I mean, what it comes down to, as far as whether or not you need to remove these verts or not, what you would have to do at this point is look to see how many polys and verts that you have in the object. If it ends up being over the maximum as far as what's allowed, and I speak primarily for NR 2003, then you would have to chunk some out. So there's no need to keep all these in most cases after you Boolean cut. So actually, let me check this really quick here. So if I check the number of polys in this object, that's interesting. So the thing is it's only showing 23 polys, so that's actually not too shabby. So you could probably get away with, let's see how many vertices there are. We have 230. So that's actually not terrible. They could be, you could keep a majority of these, just kind of spread them out to kind of refine the area, a little bit. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all that, so that's going to take too much time. But you get the idea as far as what you would have to do. Being on your total top-down view in this point, once it's cut, and just adjust these accordingly, based on, kind of spread these out. You don't want to keep these that close, because then your mapping is going to get really funky. Because when you bring it into your unwrap modifier, as far as for your texturing, it's going to be pretty funky. So you want to spread these out to refine, I guess, your shape here a little better. So just kind of like this in the and you can go by either one. Either you create ground plane of the actual track itself as far as the background image, or just use this like I've got here, and just go through it all. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all that because that's going to take a while. but you kind of get the idea of how to refine that area. And then from this point, you'll have the ability, having this area all cut out here, you can, all these points, once you get them all spaced out properly, you'll be able to adjust these to get in much the same way you do on the extreme edge. And let me kind of show this here. So like if you had these spread out and kind of all moved out properly, you can bring this up or down. Whoops. Okay, are we that far off? Holy crap. Alright, hold on. Let me grab another point here just to kind of... Yeah, there you go. See, you can see how much you need to adjust it. Once you get these all spaced out properly, you can adjust that point so that you've got it just below the surface there, so that you can see how much that needs to be adjusted. If that makes sense, hopefully. So, yeah, like I said, that would take quite a bit of time to get that done, and that's why I wanted to show that, actually, to, you know, just how complex that process is as far as to get it that way. And that's necessary to do it, because in order to take all this elevation that, and I showed that previously before I cut it, there's, you know, it goes up and down and all that stuff. It's not completely flat. So you have to conform the 3D model of the infield appropriately. So that is about as quick as I can show, you know, as far as creating an infield object of something of this complexity. Most of your other tracks that you would deal with, you wouldn't have to deal with all this cutting. For example, you could just make your spline, as I showed all the way from the beginning, to follow the contour, you know, the perimeter of the infield like that. And then once you've got it closed in or whatever, just create it as an editable poly, and then just adjust it on the up and down so that it mates up with the actual track spline geometry. And then that's pretty much it. This is a little bit more complex because you have all this going on in the infield with all the height data and what have you, so that's why it's a little bit more difficult. So I wanted to make sure that it's, you know, I showed that. So that's that should clear up, hopefully, the explanation of a lot of that process. That's about all I really wanted to show with that. And then bringing back, let's go back to the one I already have made. I'll just hide this one. And bring back the one I've already got made, which is this one. Okay, so this is the one I already have made. It already has the texture map to it and what have you. Okay. And it's already been conformed to match, I guess, the height data that exists in here. So you can see how the track giant, this gray that's all in there, that's all been conformed. The only thing I do have to adjust at this point, and I think I showed that earlier, but I'll just kind of go over it again here. You can see it in the track here. Kind of zoom in on this. On the edges here, you can see the gap that exists here. So I need to bring all the points on the very edge of the infield to mate up with the track spline geometry. So that's one of the things I'll have to adjust on this model that's already been done. Okay, so that's what I started doing at the start of the stream there, so that's what I'm going to continue to do here. And I don't remember where I started, if it was on this end or the other end. I think it was this end. Let me check that out. So let's select that. Oh, I know what I didn't at all, because I already had, I wanted to show the unwrap. That's, yeah. So I think I'm pretty much good on that, and I think I've already gone over that. I can just kind of briefly go over it one more time really quick. So with the unwrap on there, it has all the wireframe, and I want to say, I'm trying to remember, I think I did it as a normal map as opposed to a flattened map. And there's a difference between what you basically do, and we've showed this before, and I can kind of show this in here. In fact, let me go ahead and save this scene really quick, just so I have this to go back on. So I'm going to save as, yeah. Go ahead and save this. And then what I'll do, just to kind of demonstrate here, the differences between normal mapping and flattened mapping, and the results you'll get. So if you've got your unwrap UVW modifier in there, this has already been conformed. It's already been scaled properly based on it, and you can really get a sense of how you can line this up now, because you have all these lines that are cut. You can actually get those where they're supposed to go. And really, to be perfectly honest, I did not need to adjust any of this. The only thing that I did adjust was in here. Let me go into poly mode. So this is all the poly selected. I just went into this one and I just lined it up this way. As far as following these contours of all the lines, that's all I had to adjust, because of how close I got the cut, I guess, as far as to get that area in the infield. That's all I had to adjust, was the uniform scale on the corners. I did not have to touch anything on the interior. So if you get, depending on how precise you get with your cut, as far as like the way I've got it here, it takes a little bit of the work out of it to have to go in here and adjust them all independently. So the fact that I've got it that close to where all I had to adjust was just these outer edges here to get that all to line up, that's a huge time saver. So, and what I have to go, what I do have to go by, I guess, to get it lined up here is, it's like I said, as far as like all these lines, because I've refined it so well, I can follow that directly. Yeah, in fact, I can, yeah. So I just follow that directly, just like that. So that's how I was able to get that lined up. So I want to kind of show that a little bit as far as, I know the other thing I want to show is the difference between, let's do Control Z, bring that back. Oops, I think I went too far. Yeah, so let's select that again. Go into Open UV Editor. What I wanted to show is the difference between, so I'll just select the polys, okay, and mapping. You get these options here. So a normal map, and usually I don't change any of this. Initially I leave this all at default. That's what your normal map will do. Okay, Control Z, you can bring that back. If you do a flattened map, you get this result, which is closer to what you want. So that kind of gives some clarification of what mapping I do. So this is what you want to do. So you find out the best result as far as where it makes it a 1-to-1. I think the only thing this orientation creates is it needs to be flipped, which is not hard. You can just flip it this way as well as this way. Yeah, see, you can see that outline. And then from here, like I said, all I had to do is just line up on the corners like so. I just kind of zoom in on that to get it lined up. So I didn't even need to do grid snap or anything like that. My cuts that I made in the Boolean process, they lined up very nicely. So all I had to do is just kind of line those lines up with the actual track surface in there. So you can zoom in all you need to, as far as to get that, precise. So that's pretty much all that's to that. And, keeping in mind, this is a very complex infield object. Okay, the fact that it has all this going on in the infield, majority of your infield objects, they're going to be relatively flat. You're not going to have a lot of complexity. I mean, you might have some height data to where you might need to bring it up or down, depending on platforms or whatever that exist and stuff like that. This is a little bit more complex. This is probably one of the more complex infield objects that you would necessarily create for in 2003, next to other road courses like Watkins Glen or, let's say, Sonoma. So, all right, yeah, it did turn out pretty nice. I'm pleased with it. What I was, and this is what I kind of tried to show earlier on in the stream, as far as I wanted to get an idea and you can see this in the track as far as the mapping that's all applied to the 3DO itself. You can see how much, and this is a pretty detailed SAT image, to be honest, but the fact that some of this I can keep, some of this I'll have to probably create an object, to kind of make it a little bit more crisper, more quality. So like this area, I'm not going to leave it like that. I'll probably recreate this like in a paint program and create either a TSD or an object to make that a little bit more vivid, areas like that. I'm not too concerned with these areas that aren't raced on, like these areas. I'll probably just leave that, what's on the SAT image. I think that turned out pretty decent. So, and eventually what I will end up doing is adding all the curbing, to the areas. The fact that that's all we got is here is just the asphalt so far. But yeah, eventually we will end up applying our curbing sections, in the different areas to include what's on. Whoops, why do I keep doing that? Yeah, to include what exists on the bus stop on the backstretch here, going into turn 3 of the main oval, and this there's another area here, a little chicane, whatever, on the front stretch here, which doesn't show through. But let me go ahead and turn. Let's turn that off like that. Oh, you know what? I forgot what I. Yeah, let me put the background image back in. Forgot I took that out, just to kind of show the difference between. Okay, so I bring the background image back in. Yeah, so it's not going to show in the camera view, obviously, but it will show in the main sandbox view. So this little area here, I'll probably create an object for that as well. I'm not going to apply that as geometry, as far as to have that there. I can just keep this segment open so that you can cross over there and you can actually follow that path and create a checkpoint and such, by way of the track INI and what have you. So, yeah, those types of things can necessarily be fudged in, if you will. There's really no rhyme or reason, I guess, to have the actual geometry to go through this area. And really, I guess if it does create that, if we test this out and it does create the necessity, I guess, to have to, it can still be done. It would just be a matter of moving the X sections, to the appropriate spot and so on. So it's not like it can't be adjusted the way this is designed thus far. So, but primarily what I'm going to attempt to do is just create an object to create this area as well as this area on the front stretch to include this bus stop. There's a graphic in here which I don't have a reference for. This version of the SAT image that I got doesn't have it. So I'm going to have to find one, I guess, that has a, something I can go by to paint this area. This is a painted area, so they have to go this way as opposed to straight through. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. So, let me bring back the draw world underneath. Oh, I can do that. I can do a test run on it. What I want to do first is at least adjust. I was going to save that, actually, I guess, towards the end of the stream. So what I want to do is at least adjust. I can take this unwrap modifier out of this now. I've got that all explained. I need to adjust, the outer edge of the infield object so that it mates up with the track geometry. So I think that's what I'm going to do first, and then once I create my new 3DO, my new infield object, then we can test it out. And even up at this point, it's been working very, very well. So we've been able to go at least into testing mode and do a lap or two around it, and yeah, turned out pretty well so far. So what I'm going to do, just to get, I'm going to collapse this object so that it removes and maintains that mapping of the texture And I can always reapply it. That's the thing too. If I find it necessary to have to tweak the texture onto the model, I can still apply that, unwrap it, and all the mapping will still be there, and I can make the appropriate adjustments as I need to. So let's go ahead and go to our hammer and collapse selected. And all that'll do is create that as an editable mesh. And I'm going to go ahead and just convert that back to an editable poly. I've just gotten into the habit of doing that because most of the things you want to do as far as cutting it or what have you, you almost a majority of those types of things you're going to do in editable poly anyway. There's only it's very limited in what you can do in editable mesh as opposed to editable poly, so to include boolean and all that stuff. So okay, I think where I'll adjust first is on this end. So enter infield object, we'll go to vertices. Okay, we can zoom in on that after we drag select. And just go ahead and adjust. Whoa, what the freak? That was weird. Yep. So just as it comes through there, just going to get that raised up so that it's just kissing the track mesh there like so. Alright, so we'll get this one here. Good. Now, I may find it necessary to have to add more cuts in here, I guess, to fill in, because there's still a little bit of a gap here. But, again, I'll do one thing at a time, as far as to get it adjusted all the way around. And I'll go back around it to see if I need to make any further adjustments. It's just a good discipline to get yourself into here. Don't try and cut and, you know, just to be disciplined, I guess, in doing one thing at a time. Because you can necessarily go too far to be like, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that. I speak from experience when I say that. I mean, it's okay. Yep, so it's bleeding through there. So I'll probably have to put an additional point in here because this is kind of all hanging here. There's no, oh, there is a vertex here. Okay, cool. All right, so bring that up. Yep, there's one here. Good deal. Okay. Should be, hello. Alright. So you get the idea. As far as how this works. You see it bleeding through the actual track mesh. I could probably move this a little bit more. I want to be careful moving it laterally because you can get that really screwed up if you do that. Try and only focus mostly on adjusting the Z on it. In this case, just the up and down. Okay. Yep. So it's tucked under there enough or whatever, so where it's not. It's, yeah. Cool. So I just want to fix all of this, and then we'll end up being able to make our new 3DO. Put that in the track itself, and we'll get to test it out. Okay, so I'm just going to go through this. I think this is pretty straight through here. I got to see if there's any more points. Yep, there's one here. Okay. Oop, that's on the other part there. Okay. Yeah, I think this was pretty straight through here. Yep. So there should be. Wow, I realized I had that far away. Okay. Yep. See, that's controlling all that through here. Cool. All right. Yeah, this should be pretty good down here because some of the areas might need to be. Let's see. There's one here. go. One here. This should be pretty good in here, yeah. Okay. You know, and like I said, you can't necessarily try to do vertex and edge snap when doing this process, but in a lot of cases it's not really going to give you, so I just tend to go one by one here. But it also lets me check all these different points to make sure, yeah. Oops. Hate when it does that. It's using up memory there. That's what's kind of blinks out there a little bit sometimes for me. This tool does tend to use a lot of memory. Yep. So then we got that there, and that's controlling all this here. Okay. All right. That should be pretty good there. So let's see how that looks. Yeah, let's just pan this around here. That's actually not... Oh, got a big gap here. Holy smokes. Ooh. Okay, so I got a point here. Huh. Alright, hold on here. Definitely got a big gap right there. Okay. I see it. Missed one. There we go. Okay. And there's one right there. Alright then, High Bank. Thanks for stopping by. Glad to... I hope some of the information was useful. I do very, very much appreciate you stopping by. Hope have a good day. Hopefully we'll see you again. Okay, so let's try this here. That's pretty good right there. I'll be back again. I'm looking at your videos to catch up. Nice. Yeah, so feel free to... I'm going to throw this out here too. I know High Bank, you're obviously leaving there. I created a command in the chat here. Feel free to check out, that's a brand new YouTube channel that I've created for the Twitch VODs. You know, usually after a week, you know, the previous week from the streams that I do here. So like this stream will be on the YouTube channel at least a week from now. So if that makes sense. But I created that so that you can have more than one way, I guess, to access. Because there's some people that I've come to find that are used to going to YouTube as opposed to Twitch. But you can necessarily, all the VODs, you know, for the streams primarily on Saturday are on. You know, if you go in the videos on the Twitch channel, they're there as well. So you got the two different locations, I guess, to grab those. So just a fair mention. Okay. I think this is all pretty good right here. I think the only place I needed to adjust was that outer edge there, which I need to get this over here, I think. Yep. So I need to adjust this here. Like so. Cool. Yep, so that's going to turn out pretty good there. Okay, this I think I already did. Maybe not. Wow, that's controlling quite a bit there. Okay. So it looks like we need to have it right about there. So is that too much of a gap there? Let's see. Yeah. I might need to cut across here so that it's not controlling this as much. Okay. See, what's happening here is like it's moving out of this area as well when I move this, because it's all extending out this way. So I might have to cut this across so that stays put and only moves this this part. Yep. So let me holy smokes, let's go to top down view, do a zoom on that. Okay. Make sure I'm top down. Yep, so what I need to do is I need to cut through here so that this stays put over here. This doesn't adjust when I adjust this one right here. Have a little bit more control on that. You can already see this here too. It needs to come in. There we go. Alright, so yep, this should already be as an editable poly, so that's what we want. So what I'm going to do at this point, go into polygon, go to cut, and I'm going to turn on my edge invert snaps. Really only need edge, but put them both on. And I want to cut across this like so. And what that automatically will do is it'll create 2 new vertices. Let's turn the snaps off. So now, pan this way. When I move this one, this should stay relatively put. A lot more, see? I could probably refine it maybe a tad bit more, but I can always adjust this like that. Yep, that's actually a little bit better. Not too shabby. Alright, so alright, just trying to find a nice midpoint there. That's probably pretty good there, so let's see how. That's actually pretty good. I'm happy with that. Kind of mates up with that really nicely. And I can render it to get a better perspective of it too. Let's go ahead and render it. Yep. That looks pretty good. I don't see any gap in between the actual track mesh and the... I'm satisfied with that for now. Okay. So now we've gone all the way around the track to fix all them problems. Like, and it's the same, you know, if I hadn't made that point clear enough, I hear all the areas that I'm seeing the gaps in Sandbox here, as far as the camera view, is the same gaps that I would see in Max, because it's this track mesh that's in Max is the same as what I'm looking at here in Sandbox. So all these gaps that exist here would necessarily be present in Max. So all of these should go away. So when we test it in the game, these should be gone. All these gaps. And that's what we're gonna find out when we test it in the game itself. So now we're to the point. I'm gonna go ahead and close this for now. I'm gonna do a no. That was just to show that a little bit. Now, because I got this other object in here, I'm going to need to unhide that. Okay. Actually, let me hide this. I'm going to save this and this orientation here. So I'm going to go, now that I got all those points on the edge, they're adjusted, I'm going to save this as a scene. Okay. Then, I only need the, gotta unhide anything that's in the scene that I don't want, so I need to get rid of, whoops. I need to keep just the infield that I've got adjusted with the texture, so delete. This is the only thing I want in here. So when I create my 3DS, in fact, let's go to their folder. That has that all in there. Yep, so I go here, I should have a Charlotte infield creation. Where's my 3DS? Yeah, my infield 3DS right here. So probably what I'll name it as is an infield 2. So I have this as a backup. So let's export this out from Max. Because in order to make our pass file, I got to open it up. I use Max 5. Anything pre-2008 is what you want to necessarily use to create your pass export. So like Max 7, Max 6, Max 5, Max 4 I don't believe it does work. Alright, so we've got this name properly, so we need to export this with the texture on it. Go to D, mesh, navigate to our folder where that is, do it as a 3ds, and I'm just going to add a 2 to this one here. Okay, so that's all good. Now I'll just confirm that that's saved. Right here, so that's good. So now I can close Max 14. Done with that. So we'll do reset, don't save, and just close it. Now we need to open up Max 5 in this case. So let's get to Max 5. Here, let me put that down here. There we go. So Max 5 in my case. So I'm going to load this up. Yeah, we're making pretty good time on this too. I'm happy with it. I am going to have to take some meds when I get done with this here, so I'm starting to get really, really woozy and nauseated. So I'll get this thing made. I get these two. That's normal. Once I get this made and we get it tested in the game itself, I'm going to definitely have to call it quits. Because I'm starting to feel like doo-doo again. So, unfortunately. Okay. So, now we're in Max 5. Now all we need to do is import our 3DS that we created in 14. Whoops. I get the right folder. 3D mesh items, Charlotte. 18 and infield 2 completely convert. Yeah, I don't know what it is, Torch. I don't know if it's flu or what. It's just not fun. Okay, so what we have here, what the heck? That's interesting. The heck? Something's not right there. A second here. Top view looks fine. Huh. Wonder why in the perspective is it upside down? What the? That's interesting. It's showing up in the top view, obviously. I'll be damned. Yeah, that should be showing in there. I'm not sure why it's not. But anyway, I'll go into Material Editor. Gotta apply my texture before I do pass. So, I got infield texture here. Apply it to it. Let me try and render this and see what happens. Yeah, let's try and render this and see what it does. Yeah, it's 800 by 600 render. Huh. That's interesting. Okay. Not sure why it's doing that. Should be able to see that. Okay. I can see a plane here. What's going on here? Let's see if we can select any polys. I don't know what's going on with that. That's crazy. Interesting. I mean, I can clearly see it in the top-down view here. So let's, second here, smooth. Yeah, definitely does show here. So I don't know what's going on in the perspective view. That's interesting. Ah, dude, it's new. But anyway, got our texture applied. Mesh is named what we want it. So we want to export this as pass file. Charlotte 18. Select pass, and I'm going to do this as infield 2 pass. I want to keep my other one as a backup just in case. You just never know. Alright, so let's double check. Oop. Stream's burping there a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't. Okay, it's back, it looks like. Yeah, so infield 2, we got it at 77. And the previous one was 74 kilobytes, so that should be good. Now, what I need to do is copy these two into the Make 3DO directory, which is here. And I've already got this called up. You want to point to that directory to where your Make 3DO is. This happens to be the directory for my application. It might be different for you. So once that's in that directory, all I need to do is do Make 3DO. I gotta call the program Make 3DO minus P for pass, and in this case it's called infield.pass. Like so. We don't have any other parameters in it as far as reflection, whatever, so we don't need to do it. So we just push enter. Uh-oh. Cannot open. So something got screwed up. Hold on. Gotta check my spelling. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I forgot to rename it as. Okay. See, it'll usually let you know. And because I didn't rename, I had it as 2. And I tried to put in infield. That's why. So I had to rename that to infield. Yep. See, it'll tell you. It'll give you an idea, somewhat of an idea, and you have to look at it, look at your spelling, all that stuff. Alright, so F8 to bring that back up. Now I can push enter, and it should spit that out, which is right there. So what I can do at this point is cut this from here and put this into our game track directory, which I don't have open yet, so I'll open that. Yeah, it does happen. So we gotta go into my tracks, go to our track folder, Charlotte Roval. Oh, I actually don't have that in here yet. Okay, no problem. We'll paste that in there. Excuse me. Wow. Yeah, we'll paste that in there. And also get it from here. I must have took that back out after I tested it offline, off stream. So all I need to do is just paste. Whoops. I need the MIP. Dadgummit. Alright. Infield MIP. So do a copy. Paste. Alright, now we got that in there. Now I got to replace the. This one here should be our last elevation adjustment, which was on last stream we had there, was on 12:18. That should be this one here. Yep. Cool. So we already have that backed up here, so we don't need it in our game track directory anymore. So we're going to delete that. Don't need it. So we have it here, and then what I need to do is add this infield PTF, the one that has the infield applied to it, without the LiDAR, of course. Paste that into here, and then I need to rename by copying the name of the track folder. Okay, then just paste that as the PTF name. So again, we've gone over this already before as far as like the minimum files required to to test the track in testing mode. This is about all you need. You need a setup for the physics that you're going to be testing it with, your INI, your track mat with any textures that are I got way more than I need in here, but this is the minimum, just what's tied to the PTF. The only thing we have is the track geometry, as long as the track mat textures, the ground plane, as well as the infield. I can really probably take out this ground plane. I shouldn't need that because that's not attached to this PTF, that's the infield. So in actuality, I'll just go ahead and delete that. We don't need that. So this PTF only has the new infield applied to it. Okay. Alright, so we got that all set up the way we need to be. I'm going to keep this open for now. In fact, just to... I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. Let's 3D Sim looks good. Let's check it in Sandbox itself. So I want to put this new 3DO into Sandbox directory, which is here. So we're going to paste it into here, and yes, it's newer. I'm going to open up Sandbox. Okay. We're going to test it in here at least first. Still going to test it in the game, but let's load this up. And there we go. So our infield is loaded. Let's just to ensure, let's take out our background image. Yep, our infield objects is still there. You know what? I think of that. I just loaded that infield up there. It doesn't need the ground plane yet. Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, I can put that back in there. Yeah. So that's obviously still in there. I'm going to have to keep that in there for now. So let's put the ground plane back in there. No problem. Yep, it loaded with the ground plane still in there yet, so we'll have to keep that in there for now. It'll eventually get taken out. But the fact that this ground plane is still attached to that PTF, because I just opened it just now with that ground plane in there. I could make a new PTF if I wanted to, but that's okay. I just wanted to ensure that the infield object is applied. So if we look in the camera view, as far as our adjustments we made, we should not see any of these gaps that we did previously. So we still got, oh, so all these areas that had gaps, it's a little bit of one there. Not too bad. It's improved. Got a little bit of a gap right there, but it's, yep. So we still got some adjustments to make. It's a little bit better, but not 100%. So we should be able to see this same type of occurrence in the game itself when we test it. So there's some more adjustment that needs to be made to the edge of our infield object. I won't bore everybody with the details, I guess, of going through that. You kind of get the idea as far as how that works. So let's keep adjusting it. Max, rank your new 3DO, plop it back into the game and test it out. So let's go ahead and close this. You know, it loads. No, let's leave it that way. Okay. And I'm going to keep everything else open. I usually like to close it, but let's just get it down here. Now, I'm going to step away for just a moment while I get the wheel set up there so we can test this thing in the sim itself. So I'll be right back. Alright, folks. So, oops, take that off there. Don't need that on there. Alright, so I got it all. Profiler all set up there so we can launch the sim. Okay. Let's go ahead and do this here. This should load with no problem. And doesn't look like it needed. There we go. Okay. So, it's probably fair to mention here. If you haven't checked out the Minx 2019 mod that has been released by Splash and Go, highly recommend it. The fact that they've got the most current, I'm not a Ford guy to be perfectly honest, but the fact that they've got the Mustang that does tend to be used for next season for NASCAR. So a lot of new additions, I guess, to as far as that mod goes. So yeah, we're gonna test it out with the Minx mod. We've got the Spline Design Studio Camaro all painted up, so we'll get to showcase that during this test. So yeah, let's do that. Let's go to testing. We can only do this in testing, so that's something to keep in mind. So we need to highlight Charlotte Roval, and we don't have any picture or anything with it yet. That's that's all the final touches that'll get applied to it. If and when this track even sees fruition, to keep that in mind. As far as I have not decided yet as far as if this track will be released publicly. If anything, I'm just trying to show the appropriate processes that would need to be applied to build scratch build, and the fact that this one is pretty challenging. The complexities of it being a roval. That's yeah, you want it. Yeah, get in line. So I want to make sure I got my setup in here. Okay. Kind of built somewhat of a better setup so I can make a halfway decent lap around this place. So we've already been able to test as far as our pit stall location. We can get pit service in the stall 0, the very first pit stall. Yeah, am I gonna read? Yeah, I'll get right on that. Sure. So yeah, this is in. Let me go this view. Just kind of show off a little bit more. Okay, so this is coming out of the pits into turn 1. So you can see our infield object is applied, and it's pretty grainy. It's not very detailed, but it does give a little bit more definition on the edges, which is nice. It's got this painted area over here. Once all the curbings and temporary walls and all that stuff get applied, this will look a lot better. You can see the elevation change on this part as opposed to the outside oval. Still see some gaps in that outer edge there. It's not terrible, but it can be fixed. See, there's a big elevation change right here. This is coming up to turn 8. I think is what's considered as far as the entire road course. So this is turn 8 going back onto the main oval. So between here is 8 and 9 going into 10. Infield objects looks pretty good from here. Just checking the edge of that. So this will be turn 10. Going down the back stretch, and there would be a bus stop and a little chicane or whatever through here, which we don't have defined yet. Come back up on the main oval. I think that's turn 12. You got turn 14. I forget how many turns there actually is there. Yeah, see that my setup is not 100%, so don't worry about them driving. So this is coming into pit road as you would normally. There would be that chicane through here that'll eventually become visible, like right in through this area. And then you come back up on the front stretch. Get the start finish line here, going into turn 1, which should be right. Yeah, see, don't mind my driving. The setup sucks. So this would be into turn 1. You got the pit exit right there. So what I can do, yeah, see I got the natural barriers there. Eventually I'm going to end up opening all these segments up there, so you can necessarily overshoot these corners. But as it stands right now, I have those locked down. It's got that natural barrier with that X section there, so I cannot cross that. Eventually that'll get adjusted. Racer James, how we doing? Yes, I did get some work done. I still got some work to do. Just as testing it for the first time with the new infield object. I do necessarily still have some adjustments to make to the infield object. It's not 100%. Yep. And that's one thing I will have to adjust, like I said, as far as to open these up here so you can necessarily overshoot these corners. But I think this infield object turned out pretty darn nice. You can see all of, I don't see any clipping at all of the track spline geometry into the 3DO, which is, it's good. Very good, very nice. So yeah, I cannot cross over this area because of the natural barriers that are there. I'll have to open a lot of that stuff up. I mean, there'll be a wall here anyway. There's a infield retaining wall there, so yeah, I think we're doing pretty good so far. Smoothed out a lot of the bumps that did exist. It's still a little bit bumpy, and I'll kind of go through this turn 3-4 of the main oval. It's still a little bit bumpy, so I got a little bit of work to do on that. It's about the only areas that's been causing me a little bit of a problem, like right in through here. Yep, a little bit of a bump right there. Kind of upsets the car a little bit. It's not terrible. It's, you know, it's pretty tolerable, but I want to kind of tweak the X sections there. Everything else turned out pretty good so far. I need to make a better setup. Yeah, so that I can get around this thing. I've made a makeshift one just to do some subtle laps around the track, at least anyway. So anyway, the infield objects is working. I still have some adjustments to make there's some slight gaps still in the you know, where it meets up the edge of the track spline geometry. Not terrible. So go ahead and get out of this. Yeah, I thought maybe I'd show off the new Spline Designs car. Painted up the new Camaro from the Manx 19 mod. I think it turned out pretty good. Let's kind of watch the replay here. Let's go back to the beginning. Speed this up a little bit. We'll just kind of watch our lap here in slow-mo. Okay. Come on. Let's go. Speed it up. I was trying to do that. Car 2 couldn't get any motivation. Yeah. Really what all I ended up doing is I had it already one made up for the Manx 18 mod, so I just had to transfer that over, and there were some adjustments I had to make for sure, but they weren't terrible. I do give Cosman and those over at Splash and Go a lot of credit as far as the templates that they've provided. I think this car turned out pretty badass. I think I made some refinements to the scheme, with it being on the 18 mod. So this is on the new 19 mod. It's got the new lip, the see-through lip on the spoiler. That's one of the main differences, you know, with the Camaros at least anyway. Yeah, I think it turned out pretty good. It's pretty slick. Yeah, I've been using the number 70 in online league racing, I guess, for quite some time, because it tends to be a neutral number. There's not a whole lot of NASCAR teams that use that number on a regular basis, so it's like that's primarily the reason I guess I used it. You got every number around it, you know, like the 78 and such, but not the 70. So So we can just kind of watch. And keeping in mind, there's no cameras. I have no cam files in this yet. This is all the default. So it's kind of WYSIWYG right now. As far as what you see is what you get. You can see some clipping into the track right there because we don't have any official cams in there. Yeah, I can definitely put a 76 on it for you there, James. That's not a problem. I have all the layers for this. I created this all myself. You know, based on the templates that oh, yep, there's the bumps in turn 3 and 4 of the oval. Oh, the 70? 1970? Is that what it is? Torches for? Yeah, I really don't have any other connection to the 70 other than the fact that it's not a widely used number in NASCAR. You know, so it's kind of a neutral number as far as I don't have to worry about stepping on a number that's already used officially by, you know, an official team in NASCAR. That's primarily why I use it. That's really about the only connection that I have to the 70. And like I said, I've used it quite a bit in online racing for quite some time. Yeah, I can arrange that, James, as far as to put a 76 on this bad boy. And I've got all the layers for the scheme. Yep. So I get a kick out of actually trying to watch the default cam files. And that's something else I will get into further along the build as far as how to apply those custom cam files, custom track cameras. I do have a jig for that as well to make that process a little bit easier. And I can necessarily make that available to those that are interested in it when that time comes. In fact, it is already available, even as I say that, on the Spline Design Studios website. There's also a video tutorial on how to use it, and it's called the Camera Jig for Inner 2003. You can feel free to check that out. I'll get you my wet nap. Oh, you got a wet nap 76, nice. So, do you not want the Spline Design one? Wet nap being the person from Mininar that made. Oh, okay. So that's okay. Gotcha. So yeah, you can let me know as far as if you want this scheme or do something to your wet nap scheme. Yeah, I got some wonkiness in some of the walls too, so we're not done yet. We're far from 100%, but the fact that we can make laps on it, at least in testing mode, that's a huge benefit. Now it's going to be, from this point, it's going to be getting it's usable, I guess, in race mode, and that's probably by the next stream. That's what we're going to focus on more. So be sure, I guess. If you want to catch that, notifications for when the streams goes live, be sure to hit that follow button and get those notifications that way, so don't miss anything. I mean, you can always catch the VODs, being in the archives that I have on the official YouTube channel, and as well as on this channel on Twitch as well. But that's probably what we'll end up focusing on in the next couple of streams. This being episode 12 so far since the start. This is episode 12. That's what I've got in my footnotes here as far as so it's taken us 12 Saturdays to get to this point. Okay, and granted, with all the explanation, the further elaboration and explanation, I guess, of how to do a lot of these things, that's what's you could probably cut a little bit of time off of that. We might necessarily be on like 10 weeks into it necessarily, and I'm trying to show, and I've said this many times, and I'm going to keep repeating that. It's just like, don't try to do so much at one time, to get yourself into the discipline of doing a little bit at a time. Get your first initial pit stall. Make sure the track loads in testing. You don't necessarily want to jump right in and make sure it works in race, because you may necessarily run into it. You have all kinds of problems in race mode, and you're going to miss fixing all the smaller details because you're trying to get it to work in race. That's the common thing that I found myself getting caught up in doing. So I always take the approach, and I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm just giving you my experience as far as building a tracks from scratch, or editing any track for that matter. Take it in chunks, take it a little bit at a time, and take it slow. Don't try to get it to work in race mode right off the get-go, because more than likely, more times than not, you're going to be disappointed because certain things aren't going to function the way you expect them to, because you're skipping over all the finer details just to get it working and testing and so on. Be it your pit stall locations, getting your LPs laid down properly and all that stuff. That's another process we'll go through, I guess, with this build. Whether or not it'll be next week or the week after, that still needs to be done to get it prepared for potential race conditions. So I do necessarily need to make a setup for this thing. The setup that I have there, it still sucks. I hate to say, but trying to find that nice balance in there. I've used a lot of setups that exist like for Watkins Glen and Infineon. As it is right now, it's kind of a mixture of it, as well as some elements of the regular Charlotte, as far as the main oval. And that's the result you see, as far as just it's pretty slick and loose in spots. So I don't know if I'll necessarily go into that much detail on how to build the setup to design for your track. It's just a lot of trial and error, to be honest. Using tracks that are similar, you kind of do have to have some understanding of, what affects, the weight balance and all that kind of stuff. I don't really want to get into all that. There's plenty of videos out there that explain that process. So I'll leave that up to the end user, I guess, to come up with that. I will show, in this process, as far as what I do, the subtle changes to the setup to get it to respond a little better, but that's about as far as I'll go with it. So I want to make that perfectly clear. So looks better than iRacing already. Yeah, and it'll only get better. One of the things, and I know James, you and I have talked about this offline, as far as the fact that they're still not implementing 3D Safer, like we are in NR 2003. That's a huge downer. That in itself is what, for me personally, I will not spend the money on that. Them flat textures are for Cyber Barbeque. So once we get all that applied to this track that we're building on here currently, it's going to make it that much better. That, in my opinion, not to toot our own horn or anything like that, but I do feel, yeah, James talking about the setup there as far as, make it stable, then make it fast, yes. And that's why I haven't necessarily tried to do a full lap, full hardcore lap as far as to do it at speed, because I know it's not going to be proper. So you can get a little bit of information by taking it slow as far as where it's loose and all that stuff to make appropriate adjustments to make it stable, at least anyway. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind. So let's getting to the point where I need to close this thing up. I had a lot of new follows today. The fact that we've had High Bank stop by here, that was pretty cool. I'm hoping to get a lot more of the NR 2003 community. This is my goal, at least anyway, to get a lot more of those types of people in here to at least understand what goes into these processes, even if you don't necessarily take the initiative, I guess, to try and use a lot of the information to build your own tracks, to at least understand what goes into the process of this. So yeah, that's primarily the one big reason I want to the message that I want to get out to the NR 2000. And it doesn't matter if you're building tracks for NR 2003 or any other racing simulation. It can relatively be the same process. We can still do 3D modeling, I guess, for Inter 2003, and a lot of that type of stuff, to include the low poly models of the LiDAR data, can be applied to practically any platform. Racing simulator, be it Assetto Corsa, Wreckfest, what have you. Once you make it for one, it should conform to practically all. To be honest, I mean, because they're to make them consistent across all the different platforms. There's really no difference. The only difference usually is the conventions to allow the particular areas to function the way they need to, as far as where your start finish line is, where your pit stall location is, where your collidable objects are, and so on. That's really about the only difference between all these different racing simulations out there. So there are a lot of similarities, to include even iRacing for that matter. So I hope this was, I know my feeling on this, there was a lot of new people that showed up here, I guess, to see what we got going on here for Spline Design Studios Saturday. Again, I wanted to remind everybody to hit that follow button to get all the notifications for when the streams go live. You can also feel free, I know they've probably already been put out there, but I'll give you all the other informations for social media that I'm on, be it the Twitter. I have Discord as well as our Spline Designs Facebook page, which we kind of basically use that as our forums. So yeah, put that out there as well. So feel free to check. Oop, I spelled it wrong. Helps if I spell it right. There we go. So there's all those avenues that you can necessarily check out to ensure that you don't miss any of the streams for any of the gaming that I do on Wednesdays for Wreckfest, supporting World Warrior Project, as well as still doing the Farm Sim 17 on Fridays, and of course Spline Design Studios Saturdays, doing a combination of 3D modeling and some track building for the most part. So I do want to thank everybody for showing up. I appreciate it very much, and hope to see more of you lovely people, I guess, showing up here to at least see what we got going on here next time. So without further ado, feel free to stick around, I guess, for the host once the stream ends, and I want to thank you all for watching.
Entangled qubits defy the rules of common sense. Environment will not ruin the operation. Are you here? Are you there at the same time? In the microscopic universe, this is true, but in a classical system, this cannot be. The quantum superposition of atoms. Explore all possibilities at an instant. Flipping bits near the speed of light. Knowledge brings dive into a world of information and learning. A pool of multi-shaded glass. Is there a task too great for the knowledge racer? An ability to solve any problem in the physical domain. Decoherence cannot ruin the solution. The quantum superposition of